Coffee. Come explore our world of coffee. Established in 2014, DeLuna Coffee is owned and operated by the Lemmix family, Ed, Courtney, and their son Brett. Ed graduated from FSU in 1979, Brett in 2009. Lifelong fans and Florida State boosters, the Lemmixes attend multiple football games every year where you can find them tailgating near the Unconquered statue. Wake up with their midnight shift coffee. It's the perfect breakfast blend. It's a collaboration with the Pensacola Police Department and the Rally Foundation. A percentage of proceeds go to the Rally Foundation of Pensacola, who work to raise awareness, support families with kids fighting cancer, and raise funds for childhood cancer research. Use the promo code WARCHANT15 for a 15% discount. Visit DeLunaCoffee.com. Check out their Facebook and Instagram.
From Tally to Cali,
it's time
to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up! WarChant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, fueled by DeLuna Coffee.
Coffee's for closers only.
Now here's WarChant.com's Aslan Hutchavandi
and Corey Clark.
Wake up! What's up, everybody? It's Wake Up Warchant, fueled by DeLuna Coffee. DeLunaCoffee.com. Come explore our world of coffee. Warchant 15 gets you a 15% discount on the plethora of options over at DeLunaCoffee.com. In my hands, I hold this box, Corey. It's got a bunch of K-Cups in it. I usually put it on this little pedestal where it belongs so it can hover above all the things in my home so we can display it when we do a live show. Maybe we'll do a live show sometime here, Corey. It is June, but we're still grinding, so we might as well do a live show at some point, right?
It's what we do. We grind. This has been unlike any June we've ever had. I'm all about a live show, buddy. Okay. I'll do a live show. Right. In fact, I'll be down in Tallahassee next week. Me and you could just buddy up next to each other and be in the same shot. Like a two-shot, you and I. How about that, Aslan?
I like the professional term. That is correct. It would be a two-shot. However, it looks cool.
Yeah, fair enough. I'll stay at my house. You stay at yours. But it is cool. The 4 shows in a June. That might be a first in Wake Up Warchant history. But you had a softball team on a crazy run. The baseball team was playing. Mike Norvell has camps every other day with more 4- and 5-star recruits visiting. And, man, last June was so awful for all of us. Just the worst sports June of our lifetimes. I think as far as I can remember, the only sporting event in last June was Mickelson and Brady versus Tiger and Peyton. There was nothing, really, until the NBA started up. So I'm all for it. You know what I mean? Let's celebrate the fact that we're actually back to normal-ish. And we get to watch that incredible atmosphere out in Oklahoma City. There's kids actually talking to coaches up close. You're getting to interview kids. It's cool, man. It's cool. So we're all about, maybe not 4 shows next week, but this week made sense.
You're right. By the way, the ingredients on the box of K-Cups for the Fat Albert Blue Angels, 100% Arabica coffee. That's it. No additives, nothing. It's pure goodness. DeLunaCoffee.com. Let's talk about it then, Corey. Let's get right to it. Deciding winner-take-all Game 3 of the Women's College World.
Also, can I interrupt you real quick, Aslan? I wouldn't mind occasionally people tweeting at us, maybe even more than occasionally, or you, but both of us really if you want to. If you're drinking DeLuna, let us know. Let us know, man. Again, they're Noles. You want to support the Noles? There's a Nole you can support. DeLuna is going to grow so much, they might name Doak. They might get naming rights for Doak Campbell Stadium, and you'll be on the ground floor. In all the tweets, all the mentions, all of that helps. So if y'all want to send us a picture of you drinking coffee, clothed, I don't need any weird, a robe half slipped on or something. But, just a normal cup of Joe.
Yourself.
Well, right, sure, depending, obviously. But just a normal cup of Joe, your morning Joe, your afternoon Joe, whatever it is. Let us know, let us see it.
Can you imagine it? 2023 first round of the college football expanded playoffs at DeLuna Coffee Stadium in Tallahassee, Florida. Kids are camping out, and we're just going around handing out trays of DeLuna coffee to people, waiting to get into Doak for that first game.
The Florida State BYU at DeLuna S Coffee Stadium. Be perfect, man. It's happening. You talk it into existence. Speak it into existence. Let's go. Let's quit screwing around.
12 teams we mentioned earlier in the week, so we'll talk about a little bit later on the program, but let's get to it then. The Women's College World Series wrapped up on Thursday in Oklahoma City. The number 1 team in the nation, Oklahoma, takes down the Florida State Seminoles 5-1 en route to, I think, Patty Gazzo's 4th Women's College World Series title. Who cares about her? Man, what a bummer. It seems so close. I was so confident. Game 2, 2-1 lead, which, was clearly not enough. But I thought, once again, this team is just that good this year. They're just that charmed. They're living life well. Didn't work out. Goes to deciding Game 3. Kaylee Mudge, good grief. CWS MVP in my opinion, although I don't know, she probably didn't get it. But to set the record as a freshman for the amount of hits in a Women's College World Series. Starts off with a double, and I don't know if maybe that took I just wonder how much of it, unless Oklahoma had to go through it as well. Oklahoma played the maximum amount of games as well. So did Florida State, and they had to deal with maybe not the caliber of craziness Florida State had to deal with in terms of scheduling and overnight 3 a.m. games.
Right.
But again, with that crowd behind them, and I'm not – hey, man, Oklahoma City invested in that sport, and they get to reap the spoils of it. If Tallahassee wanted to invest in it 30 years ago, who knows what we're talking about. But, that leadoff double and then not being able to bring anything home, it felt like they certainly needed something to go their way early in that game, and when it didn't, and then Oklahoma proceeded to pull out the big stick and send one over the fence. It seemed like it was going to probably be a little bit of a long day, not the finish that we wanted as Florida State fans, but doesn't take anything away from what would have been a great season. But I know a lot of people, it's crazy the amount of hurt, Corey. I don't know if you want to talk about the game first off, and then we can maybe get to the bigger picture thing, but just a lot of hurt right now in the Tribal Council. It's the beauty of sport, man. It really is, but it's just it's unfortunate.
Yeah, I think, though, and that's the second championship that a Florida State team has lost in the last month. The soccer team lost one. They got to the championship match and lost. The difference there, to me, is the Florida State soccer team was clearly the better team. And they gave away a championship, in my opinion. It's just an awful play by a really good player. The Gonzaga, right? Was it Gonzaga?
No, Santa something?
Not Gonzaga, Santa Clara. What am I thinking of? Why did I say Gonzaga? Santa Clara, she made a great shot after she got the ball. But anyway, Florida State, I felt like, gave away that championship. This one was kind of just taken. Like, look, man, literally, that's the best college offense of all time. By any measure. Runs, batting average, slugging percentage, home runs, however you would use to judge an offense, that's the best one that's ever been. And Florida State was 6 outs away. Again, I think the better team won. I don't think you could argue that when you look at the totality of the season. But what's cool about sports is the better team doesn't always have to win. Santa Clara soccer, for example. Yeah. Like, you can't sneak up and play well enough to win, and they gave themselves a shot. The 6th inning of Game 2 was, to me, obviously when it was lost. I just think if you start that inning off with the throw, and there's 1 out, and Superstars coming up with 1 out, and now you're 5 outs away. There's a little more pressure now. But you kind of relax and breathe a little bit after that error. You're like, okay, they just gave us an out. And now we got the big boppers coming up, and they did what they do. But when you look at that game on Thursday, again, I just think it's hard to look at those two teams and say that Florida State was the better team. But they had a chance, man. They gave themselves a chance. And I don't know. I just think, like, sometimes somebody has to finish second. And I know it's rough. Trust me, as an Atlanta fan, I'm used to it. Well, I'm used to finishing 5th or 4th. But I get that it's hard when you get that close. But I don't think you could look at that and say they gave away anything. Oklahoma just went out and took it. And look, Oklahoma never had to leave the state. Florida State played in Tallahassee, played in Baton Rouge, and then went and played in essentially the Super Bowl against a home team for 3 games. And I thought, there was a weird decision there with the pitching. But overall, man, I just thought, Florida State has nothing to, and I don't say this all the time. Like, the Florida State soccer team, they should have hung their heads. They blew that game. They were 6 minutes away from a championship, and they just had the worst turnover of the season to blow that game. Now, seriously, a great season. Clearly, it's still an awesome season. But this Florida State softball team, to me, is different. They don't have anything to hang their heads about. They didn't hit when they needed. They needed to score some runs, and they didn't. Had some chances, didn't come through. But, man, to get to where they were, they came through a ton of times. So I just think it was a really fun it was a fun run to watch because, again, it wasn't a team that you necessarily thought had this kind of ceiling in it, that it would be 6 outs away from a national championship playing, again, the best offense of all time.
Yeah, I mean, when they
So
lost
bummer.
game
It's a
one.
bummer. It's a bummer, but don't you think it would be worse if, like, I don't know. I just think they got as far as they possibly could, and they completely tapped out of their potential. Like, that was the way they played this season to get to where they got. I know they have a bunch of super seniors and seniors. They also have a bunch of freshmen and that will be coming back. And I just think that overall, man, it was a really cool thing to watch. It was really cool for the sport. Like I said yesterday, it was just a wonderful atmosphere, an incredible atmosphere, and it's cool that they got to be a part of it.
Yeah, just the tough thing about it is that I think you get kind of intoxicated as a fan when you watch them, especially the way they played, in all these elimination games, because every game was an elimination game after the first one for them, that you just thought they were going to that this is what they were, right? Like I shouldn't say we, I don't want to speak for you, but I did not watch a lot of softball. So you sort of, I'm sure there's things they probably did in April and March that kind of came back and showed itself on Thursday and Wednesday to a certain degree, but I didn't know that stuff existed. I only saw what they've been doing, in the region and then in the super regional against LSU, and then what they did as soon as their backs were against the wall, that you just thought they were going to constantly keep finding a way to put stress on opposing teams, find a way to get on base, find a way to be aggressive on the base paths and bring runners home. And it just kind of just ran dry all of a sudden really quickly. I guess a little bit of the credit has to go to that pitcher of theirs, G. Juarez. She really has a full name. It's Giselle, I guess, but she probably just wants to go by G. Like when they show her on the Chiron, like the lower third graphic, it would just show G. Juarez.
Yeah, I don't understand. You're not allowed to do that, man. You have a name. You can't just say your name is G. Like, you can say people call you G,
right.
but like, it's got to be at least an initial. Like, are you A? Are you, am I C. Clark? No. It's weird that, like, when I saw her name the first time, I'm like, oh, that's awesome. Her parents just named her a letter.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. There was a kid that played at UNLV basketball right after they were awesome in the early 90s. And I swear his name was like H. Waldman. Just the first name was H. Not short for Harry or, I was going to say a really weird name, but just H. So I thought her name was G, but no, it was just her. She wants to be called G, and we just let her get away with it. I don't know. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. But yeah, she was good. Man, it was a great team. Oklahoma is an all-time team, and you pushed them to the brink. And at the end of the day, you scored 3 runs in the final 2 games. That ain't beating Oklahoma,
Right.
as we saw. You had to put some more runs on the board. The pitching, because you can't hold them down forever. You saw it in the first game. Like, they just keep coming. And so you needed more than, you got 2 in the first inning in game 2, and you just couldn't add on. If you could have added on 1 more run in the 3rd or 4th or 5th inning, and you go to that 6th inning up 3-1 or 4-1, man, it is a whole different feel. But 2-1, they know they're 1 swing away from tying the game, and it turned out to be 1 swing away from taking the lead. So anyway, what's a bummer to me is that I thought the way this team rallied, they deserved a championship just because of where they had been. They didn't even win the ACC. They were a 10 seed. They weren't a national host. Not a lot of respect outside of like Tallahassee for this team. And to go on the run they went on, it would have been an incredible finish for those seniors too that had to deal with COVID and everything else. They just had the bad luck. I think maybe any other year of the last 10 or 12 years, this team probably has enough magic in it to win it. But they just happen to go up against the best offensive team in college softball history. That's bad luck. Like, she had to get a roster like this for this, that's just bad luck. Or that JMU couldn't somehow beat Oklahoma. That would have been great.
And not only like the best team in college softball history, at least offensively, but a team in Oklahoma, playing in Oklahoma. Yes. And again, hey man, this is the way it's always been, and I'm sure every other fan base has complained when they've played Oklahoma and they've lost the championship series. I'm not that guy, but this we've all seen it. We've all kind of fallen in love with the sport watching it the last few weeks and 3 years prior when they won it all, because you see with the sort of emotion and, like childlike enthusiasm that they have. That emotion is such a big part of the success and the momentum of that sport. And when you're there, like that's brutal. It really is. I mean, who knows? If they would have played this Oklahoma team in Nashville or Atlanta, right, who knows how the cookie crumbles.
Well, don't you think that maybe everybody's cheering for the underdog? And I know Florida State isn't like an underdog, like a pesky underdog like James Madison,
right,
but they were the underdog. Yeah. And yeah, that too. I mean, look, that is a huge advantage. And Lonnie said as much after the game on Thursday. Again, not blaming anything. She really liked the experience and thought it was great for the sport. But they're Oklahoma fans. Nobody has to deal with the crowd that Florida State had to deal with. Because even when Oklahoma was playing earlier in the tournament, well, there were Oklahoma State fans in the crowd because their game was next. Or there were Arizona fans in the crowd because their game was next. The championship series, it's all Oklahoma. They're not there to see anybody else. There are no Auburn fans, random fans there. Not that Auburn was in it, but you know what I mean?
Right.
It's literally like if Duke got to play the Final Four in Cameron.
Right.
That's a big advantage. In softball, it's not weirdly, but like if say the Oklahoma baseball team, if the College World Series was in Norman, the baseball College World Series was in Norman, Oklahoma. Right. It's not baseball really isn't that big of a crowd advantage. It can be at times when there's 2 outs in the 8th inning and the bases are loaded.
Bream as he's rounding third, Corey Clark.
Right, but like you build your own momentum in baseball. Right. Like the crowd can play a part, but you got to give them a reason to be excited first. Like Tennessee, like they were all standing on their feet. Well, the bases got loaded and they were standing on their feet. And the same thing with all these other Arkansas, Ole Miss. They go crazy when you hit a home run, but in the 3rd inning, when there's nobody on and there's 2 outs, it's just a normal baseball game. People are just talking. It's normal. In a softball game, it's a rock concert the whole time. They were down 7-0 and they were dancing on the dugout in game 1. It is just, I've never seen anything like it. And with that new deck, Oklahoma has a decided advantage for the coming decades, I guess, if they're going to be like this. That's a hard place to play, man, when you're playing against 11,000 fans. Again, that's not an excuse. They still were 6 outs away. They played well for the most part. But it's that was an incredible. That's just I can't get over the road atmosphere that was for Florida State.
Yeah, Gazzo at Oklahoma, she's 5-2 in the championship series. So. Yeah,
but again, this year I think at least had 4,000 or 5,000 more people because of the decks they added. Yeah. So it's even louder. It's even crazier. And Lonnie said they recruit to that, meaning. You go to these because again, I told you guys yesterday they have 5 of the top 17 players in the country coming in, including the number 1 player in the country who's a pitcher. So take the number 1 pitcher in the country and add her to that offense. Fun, but the one of their huge recruiting tools. No, I said fun.
Oh.
No, I said fun. Yeah,
I'm like, dang, Corey, I know you got into the softball thing, but come on, man.
Yeah, F those girls, man. Women. But yeah, so. The point being, Lonnie was like, they recruit to that because what is selling? Like, if you were a recruit and you were deciding between Oklahoma and Texas and UCLA, and you watch that game, these last 3 games, where are you going, Aslan?
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? Like it might be shifting to like there might be a real problem on our hands with this sport, and it's like it might be like It's like if the UConn women, not that it mattered when they were incredible. Played all the Final Fours were in stores. Like this, they have themselves a juggernaut, dare I say, and Florida State almost cracked it. They really did. As great as that Oklahoma team was, Florida State got as close as you possibly can almost. They weren't in the 7th inning, but they were in the 6th inning and had held them to 1 run. And then the wheels kind of came off, and then Thursday happened, which I wasn't completely surprised by what happened Thursday. It's just I felt like you felt that was your shot. You had them on the ropes. They didn't have a lot of confidence. They were starting to panic because they only had 6 outs left. You gave them a free base, and then one swing later you're losing.
On the bright side, though, again, Kaylee Mudge sets a whole new Women's College World Series record with hits in the tournament. She's a freshman.
Yeah. Kaylee Harding's a freshman.
Correct. Sydney Sherrill's a junior.
Sandra Cox is a sophomore, I think.
Yeah. Josie Muffley's a sophomore. Devin Flaherty's a freshman, so plenty of talent returning for hopefully Coach Alameda still for Florida State next season. We'll see how that goes. So apparently somebody's like trying to start a GoFundMe proactively to keep her in Tallahassee in case other schools come poaching for her. So
well, she needs to go now that you don't have to sit out when you transfer. Just go get the number 7 and 8 hitters in Oklahoma's lineup, and be like, hey, you can bat 2 and 3 for me, and you'll be our star. We'll do everything around you. I know you hit 14 home runs and nobody even cared. Right. You were an afterthought. Well, you can be the star of our line. I mean, again, just a ridiculous lineup. But hey, man, again, they made it. It was a cool run. It really was. It was fun to watch. They're a fun team to watch.
NordVPN, NORDVPN. Speed, security. Some folks emailing me, Aslan, like, why do I need all this encryption, VPN, IP masking? I don't know, man. I don't know what you guys are all doing on the internet. Some people don't want other people to know what they're doing on the internet. So, use NordVPN. Speed, you ask? Well, yeah, no throttling. Binge all the shows you want on Netflix. You realize when you binge 4 movies in a day, a couple shows in a day, your internet service provider's like, hey, what's going on over at this address? They're taking up a lot of data. Slow it down. Things start buffering. Who likes buffering? It's 2021. Enough of that. NordVPN's technology can help you out with this and much more. Try them out. Go to nordvpn.com/warchant. You will get a significant discount on a 2-year subscription with an additional free month tacked on top of it. NordVPN.com/warchant.
Just when you thought the chicken sandwich war was over, it's coming back in a big way with Zaxby's new signature sandwich. It's a double hand-breaded filet, split-top bun, 3 zesty pickles, and if that wasn't enough, it's smothered in Zax sauce or new spicy Zax sauce. That's right, it's such a big deal, we made a totally new sauce to give it the kick it deserves. The other guys won't know what hit them. The new Zaxby's signature sandwich. Have you tried it yet?
And don't forget to listen in for the Zaxby's indescribably good Player of the Week every Monday on Wake Up Warchant.
Moving along now, as we discussed on the show the other day, there had been some preliminary reports about the college football playoff likely expanding to 12 teams as soon as the working committee were to meet later on in the week in Chicago, which apparently that's what now seems to be the case. ESPN and multiple outlets reporting that once this is going to be passed on to that 11-person panel, which is the 10 FBS commissioners and the athletic director of Notre Dame, they will likely approve expanding the 12-team field. Probably not till 2023, but just in time for the climb to hit its apex and get a nice spot in there. So it would be, I should have found this. I had it laid out a little bit better. The 6 highest-ranked conference champions and your 6 highest-ranked other teams as determined by the panel still. The selection committee is still going to live around. So the 2 wrinkles, if you want to call them that, is that the top 4 seeds have to be conference champions. So you're not going to have 2 SEC teams in the top 4. Like, they don't have 2 SEC teams won't get a bye. Right. But, I mean, that's crazy. So, like, your Pac – I mean, let's say that's a really bad year everywhere. Like, Pac-12 has a down year. ACC has a down year. Big 10 or Big 12. And then, I don't know, man, UCF is like a 4 seed, you know, and then but they get a bye while Georgia and Florida State are battling out in the opening round, but that's probably unlikely. And then the other one, here you go, Corey. Notre Dame is not going to be able to get a bye because they will not be a conference champion because they are independent. They're proud of it. And so there you go. They will never get a bye if they ever make it into this thing, which I'm sure they will. It's 12 teams, man. Everyone's got a shot. I don't know where you want to start on this, Corey. There is one. Let me start off with this question, and then you can kind of venture off into where you would like to go, as we do most of the time on the program, is that I just feel that we're really going to bastardize and water down and ruin how special the regular season is. And, you know, Georgia makes the trip to Notre Dame for the first time and whenever, ever maybe, like back in 2017. Like all these cool sort of non-conference matchups that that teams were scheduling and how special it is even a game in week 2 in September can be, it's all going to be ruined with allowing 12 teams. I mean, Florida State in 2016 had some firepower, but would have been in the playoff. Like, would that team have beaten Alabama or Clemson? Actually, I don't know. They almost did beat Clemson.
They almost did beat Clemson, yeah.
But the counter to this now is that you're going to have 35 teams with access to a certain, like right now as we start this season with 4 teams, there's legitimately 7 or 8 teams that have a shot. When you go to 12 teams, not necessarily you have 35 teams that have a chance of winning the national title, but you got 35 teams that have a chance of making it, having access to this playoff. And then these games do become more, I mean, there will be more important games. We will have to keep our eyes on Memphis playing Tulsa in the middle of November because Tulsa's undefeated right now. We all know they're a fraud, so we want Memphis to beat them so that we can get into the 12th spot so we can be in the playoff. So me being the cynical, skeptical guy, I would maybe scoff at that, but I'm like, okay, I'll go into it with an open mind, I suppose. Do you believe that will be the case? There's going to be now more access for more teams, so there in turn will be more meaningful games.
Well, yeah, I do. I mean, I think you'll have you might have up to 18 to 20 teams in November that still have a shot to win a national championship, right? Isn't that cool? Isn't that better than 5? Yeah. And really it's, whatever. Michigan State was never going to win a national championship, but still, I just hate the committee. I hate the committee. They go behind closed doors. They don't have any real objective analysis to ever really explain their decisions. And it can get political, and I know there's no real good way to do it, but it's the only sport on earth where imagine the NBA playoffs saying, all right, we're taking all the conference division champions, and then we're going to have a committee decide who the next 6 are by eye test. Durant hasn't played for 3 weeks, but now he's back and he looks good. I think the Nets belong. It's they never can quite get it right. And what's the answer? I don't know. I think it could just be you take your conference champions, but that's fine. I get the SEC probably deserves one extra team. They have really good teams. So if they have 3 and every other conference has 1, or another conference has 2 and all the other ones just have 1, all right. It's fine. I do think you'll get I do think the argument about devaluing the regular season, like I said the other day, man, it's already been devalued. It just has been. Like, I think now the Georgia-Notre Dame game will still happen, and it's still cool. And if you lose, you got 3 months left to play yourself back into or 2 months left to play yourself back into contention for the playoff. I think it gives teams a better reason to make those games, because it's like, okay, even if we lose, it's not the end of the season. So
and we still get a huge
why not
gate.
do it? Yeah, you get a huge gate, and if you lose, it's not the end of the season. You can still battle your way back into the playoff. I like it. I like the fact that the 6 highest ranked champions means obviously there's going to be one group of 5. There might be 2 group of 5s, but they are finally going to take care of the group of 5s. Do I think a group of 5 team could ever go through a gauntlet like that and win a national championship? No, I don't. But they deserve a shot, man. Give them a shot. You have these people in this room saying that 10-2 Georgia belongs, but a 12-0 whoever Memphis doesn't. I mean, who are you to say that? Like, yes, Georgia has better recruits. They're in Georgia. But who does? I think where they got it wrong way back when they came up with this dumb committee, they should have just stuck with the computers and said the 4 teams that the computer spits out, that's who's in the playoff. But either way, they didn't. They organized this dumb committee, and they said it's not going to be about who deserves it. It's going to be about who the best team is. And once they did that, it eroded any rationality to the process. Like, it should always be about who deserves it. A 12-0 Memphis team deserves it over an 8-4 Auburn team. If they played on a neutral site, Auburn might beat Memphis. Oh, well. You don't deserve a chance. You lost 4 times. Memphis went 12-0. At least get them to the dance now. Now they'll be in the dance. They'll probably get smashed in the first or second game, but it broadens the scope of the sport. and it gives more teams a chance to get to the ultimate goal, which I guess now is the 12-team playoff. So I'm all for it, man. I like it. I certainly like it more than the current incarnation of what we got.
It does broaden it. I think if you live in Seattle and you're a Washington alum, or if you live in Oregon and you're a big Ducks fan or what have you, like you're back in this thing, like this sport that you enjoyed watching, and it's been really kind of sour the last 4 or 5 years. Like you're back in it now. So I think that's cool. I don't want to sit here and defend the committee, other than because we were so close to it. So it's the only thing I can really pull from. I think most everybody listening to the show didn't like the way they seeded things in 2014.
You think?
To put it mildly. Otherwise, I think they've pretty much gotten the right 4 teams in every year, Corey. So are we just worried that now that they're going to have control, they're going to pick the destiny of 6 teams? Now it becomes like more nuance, and we don't trust their nuance in this?
I think the good thing about it, though, is they can't screw it up too bad. Like if you're one of the top 6 conference champions, highest ranked conference champions, you're getting in. So that cuts their decision making in half. So now they can only screw up a couple of spots. I think my biggest thing with the committee would be it's dumb to do the weekly updates. Preposterous.
Okay. Yeah.
TCU is 4 or 3. They go and win their last game by 45 points, and they drop to 5 and don't get to play. Why even do that? It's pointless. It doesn't make any sense, and you can't explain it rationally. And they would talk out of both sides of their mouth. They brought up, everybody listening to this knows game control and how that was in our lives for 100 days and then disappeared forever. Look, man, I think they're going to screw it up a little bit. It's an impossible task, but you're also, I think at this point, they're going to screw up number 11 and 12 as opposed to 3 and 4. And you can live with that, right? Like if you're the 14th team, you've lost at least 3 times, probably, maybe 4. And you don't really have, if they keep you out, what are you going to say? Our 3 losses were better than their 3 losses. I mean, at that point, it's like arguing between number 68 and 69 for the basketball tournament. It's at some point it doesn't. I get it, but it doesn't really matter. You had plenty of chances throughout the season to work yourself into the playoffs. So I like that they can't screw it up too bad. If this is the actual format they're going to use, the protocol, the procedures they're going to have in place, they can't screw it up too bad. So I'm all about that. Yeah. And what else could you do? I guess I was all about the computers, man.
I was too.
And I don't understand why they just didn't go to 4, but they didn't. So now the committee is just a part of our lives, and they're going to make this made-for-TV nonsense every Tuesday night with some dude from some school having to go on and answer Reese Davis's questions, not really make a whole lot of sense, and then let's all complain on Twitter about how goofy it is, and then recycle it and do it the next week as well.
It's college football, Corey. Did you just wake up from a coma? This is what it's been.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what it is. That's
stuff. Do you remember?
But that's what they want.
Do you remember? I remember as a kid, my brother and I, we would watch CNN in the morning on Sunday to watch the coaches poll be released. Because
weren't those the days?
Yeah, it was the CNN coach. I remember, my brother and I would watch, and they would, they'd roll it 5 by 5, and it goes. They built this whole drama thing.
Yeah.
A lot of it is sour grapes because we haven't been in the conversation. But now, again, by the time this comes to fruition, which they sound like probably 2023, you're going to hope that this staff is going to have everything in place. And listen, man, Florida State should be a top 12 program. Like it really should by 2023. There's no excuse not to be with the tradition, the history, the resources,
at least,
all that.
And again, the money is getting, the gap is getting wider, but still you should be, I know you can't maybe compete with the SEC financially. Florida State, at very worst, if he gets things established, should be a top 15 program.
Yeah.
And if you're a top 15 program, like we were just talking about, you're in the conversation, man. You're in the running. If you're top 15 every year, 3 out of 6 years, 3 out of 5 years, you should be in the playoff. That's just the simple math of it. So, I like it, man. And again, I'm complaining about the committee. It all stems back to 2014. If I had Wake Up Warchant in 2014, I can't even imagine I would have just said the same thing over. I would just complain for 100 days straight. It was just so ridiculous. It still makes me mad to think about it. But, even the what they have now with the playoff, I don't like what it's done to the regular season. I don't like what it's done to the bowl season. But the way they decided national championships in the 70s, 80s, early 90s, was just the dumbest stuff that's ever been done. It was just completely... BYU won the 1984 national championship. You know who they beat in the bowl game?
Was that Jim McMahon? No, it wasn't Jim McMahon. He was already in Chicago.
It was, I think, Robbie Bosco was the quarterback.
Okay.
Yeah, it was before Detmer. Yeah, any idea who they beat in the bowl game?
San Diego State? I don't know.
They beat Michigan. Okay. Michigan's record that year was 6-6. Gotcha. They played a 6-5 Michigan team in the Holiday Bowl on December 27th or whatever, beat them by a few points, and got declared the national champions. That's how dumb the process used to be. So at least now it's better than that, because that was just nonsensical. So at least we're getting closer to, like, you know, real champions. And I do think it's cool that other schools around the country, besides the ones in our part of the world in the South, will have or the big schools will have a legitimate shot to get in the playoff. I don't foresee like Memphis or UCF or whoever, San Diego State, making a run to a national title, but they'll have a shot now. If they play well enough in the regular season, they'll have a shot, and I think that's good for the sport. So it's not just the same 5 teams over and over and over again. It'd be cool to watch like San Diego State play Ohio State, and they're 19-point underdog, and they're in a game in the fourth quarter, and everybody's cheering for old mighty the Aztecs. I think that'd be cool for the sport.
Absolutely. Last thing, just under the proposal for a 12-team format, the 4 highest-ranked conference champions would be seeded 1 through 4, receive a first-round bye. Teams 5 through 12 would play each other in the first round on the home field of the higher-ranked team. Quarterfinals, semifinals, bowl games.
Don't you think that's where the committee can get a little?
That's where the politics are going to come.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like I don't know what the math is going to be between being like whatever 8.
They're going to send Georgia to Tulsa.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Tulsa, Georgia's going to jump you just one spot, so they're the ones that can host.
Yeah, because we'd rather have 98,000 people watching this game than the glorified high school stadium that you guys play in. Sorry, them the breaks. That will definitely be what happens.
I can't imagine being 19-year-old Aslan and his buddies with a home playoff game at Doak. Oh
my gosh!
Oh my gosh, man!
It's coming back, man. It's going to be DeLuna S. Coffee Stadium by then, but it is coming back. It is coming back, and we are going to see in our lifetimes, Aslan, if this actually comes to fruition. Which, again, if they're talking about it and they already have this thought out and put in place, it's not a reality necessarily quite yet, but it's close to it. We are in our lifetimes going to see a college football playoff game at Doak.
I know, man.
That's cool, right?
It's amazing.
Yeah, live shows, that's pretty awesome.
Live podcasts all week long leading up to kickoff, dude.
Live podcasts during the game.
Just live
pirate
broadcast.
Yeah.
We mute out whoever it's going to be in the booth, like Joe Tessitore, just you and I. Oh man, I can't wait. All right, man. Let's wrap things up here with the last of the bunch of the Renegade Express questions. Gator 188, also known as Gator Kirk, wake up, let's go. With Warchant being the ultimate Seminole sports source, I am stoked you are all covering other sports as well as football. Football is the cash cow, but these other programs deserve their moment in the sun. Instead of flying back to Tallahassee, Ira could catch a ride back with Nelly and T-Mart. Your thoughts on that possible road trip back to Tallahassee? Go Noles. Ira, Tyler
I
Martin,
don't
and
think
Matt Nelson just cruising.
I don't think they'd want to hang out with Ira.
Oh, come on.
He's gonna throw on the Journey or the Doobie Brothers, whatever he listens to, and they're not gonna want to listen to that. Although if I was Ira, I'd try to get into Matt Nelson's inner circle. That'd be fun.
Wouldn't that be a bad idea? I think Ira's got it very developed. He's got young children, man. They keep him hip to music. He knows what's out there on the streets. He knows what the kids are listening to. Moving on though, random_John. Good morning.
Hey, there's one thing left, too, by the way, that Gator Kirk, he didn't bring it up, but another sport. The men's and women's track teams are out competing in Eugene this weekend, starting Thursday, I guess, in the national championships there. I don't think either one has a legitimate shot to win a national title, but I think they could both finish top 10, and the men could maybe finish top 5. So, again, when you're looking at Directors' Cup stuff, you've already gotten, like a second place soccer, second place softball, 9th place golf, women's golf, 5th place men's golf, a couple top 10s in track. You got the beach volleyball, the baseball team.
Give me that Capital One Cup.
baseball team finished in the top 30.
Or Directors Cup. Sorry, I keep saying Capital One Cup. I don't know why. Directors Cup.
So yeah, that'd be, keep an eye out for that. They're out there competing, and they got a few dudes who could legitimately win national titles in sprints. So keep an eye on that.
Random_John. Good day, Aslan and Corey. May your coffee pot be full of DeLuna, your summer full of tantalizing FSU sports stories. Regarding the playoffs expanding, I say whoop-de-doo. Until the sport can show me that teams not named Clemson, Alabama, Ohio State can win, then it doesn't really matter. Throw 64 teams out there, and I still have no reason to believe other teams will fare any better than they are now. Our baseball team can relate to that. What does that mean?
I don't know.
John?
Read it again. I don't think I got the vibe of what he was trying to say.
Regarding the playoffs expanding, I say whoop-de-doo. Until the sport can show me that teams not named Clemson, Bama, Ohio State can win,
right,
then it doesn't really matter. Well, we haven't seen anybody. We haven't seen these teams have to play 3 games. Well, they won't have to play 3 games to have a first-round bye.
Yeah, they play up to 2 games, though, right? Or they might, yeah. But yes, absolutely. Nobody's going to believe somebody's going to roll in there and beat Alabama in the playoffs until it actually happens.
But you will, as a Florida State fan, if they make it in the playoff, you're going to believe the Florida State's going to find a way. But if you're a freaking Iowa fan and you make the playoff, you're going to think that your team is somehow like the star. Yeah, I mean, come on, let's not act like everyone's going to walk into the playoff like lambs going to the slaughter. Every fan base is going to be stoked and think their team's going to have a shot at pulling off the upset.
Yeah, but even still, like it's good for the sport. Like the national champion will still be from a very, very small pool. But right now, that's all that matters. Nobody else even has a chance to swim in the pool. At least now there's other teams in there. Now they're going to drown quickly. That's a great metaphor. I'm going to keep this going. But they're at least in the pool. They're getting to splash around and play Marco Polo a little bit for 3.5 hours until Alabama beats them 49-12. I get the overarching point of what he's saying. Just because you're expanding the playoff, the problem at the top still very much exists. There's only a few teams that have a chance, really, in our minds right now. The playoffs could change it, though. As more and more fan bases or players around the country see more teams in the playoff as opposed to 6, the 6 they've seen over the last half decade, there's going to be more and more teams added to it. They're like, oh, okay, well that is a legitimate place to go play in the playoff, go make the playoffs and potentially play for a national championship. I want to go there. So it helps that way. It helps the other schools that aren't Alabama, Clemson, Georgia. But also the overarching point is true. We don't know yet that it's going to make it. The problem is that the haves and the have-nots. The haves still probably have a very good shot of winning the national title. It's just now you're making some of those have-nots, they get a shot to at least be on the field with them.
The 90 Yankees are still going to be the 90s Yankees. I get it. Like Alabama's still going to win their opener after their first week. I mean, shoot, you're going to give Alabama another week to prepare as they await the winner of Cincinnati and, I don't know, North Carolina.
Right.
Good luck to those teams.
So
I understand that. But still, though,
But it's cool. It's cool for Cincinnati and North Carolina fans and recruits. And it does help those schools, and I think it does help the sport itself. But yes, there still probably will be a problem at the very top as far as who can actually win this thing. In college basketball, I don't know how many teams can realistically go through 6 games and win them all in a given season. 20, right. 17 out of 300. So you're looking at similar percentages when you take into account the numbers of like 4 out of 100 or whatever I did, 15 out of 300. But, it's still a problem. It's still Alabama. It's going to be called the Alabama Invitational, I'm sure, or the Clemson Invitational. And everybody's playing for second. Everybody's playing for fourth. But I like the fact that other teams get a chance to at least be in the playoff discussion and actually play playoff games. What is that? 4-5 extra bowls that really matter as opposed to the 3 that you have now.
And hopefully, Saban wins it the first year and he's like, all right, I'm done. I won a BCS. I've won a 4-team playoff. I won a 12-team playoff. I know you guys extended me to 2028, but I'm good. I'm going to go, me and Miss Terry, we're done. We're just going to go open another Mercedes-Benz dealership and live the good life, hopefully.
That would be nice.
Random_John continues, speaking of baseball and our baseball team, I noticed that our team is still challenging the whole "this could be our year" trope. I remember Corey saying something along the lines, we might as well get excited because what do we have to lose? That was actually me. To which the baseball team annually responds with handing us a stick, showing us a dead horse, telling us to beat the dead horse, then looking at us and asking, what did you think was going to happen? Ouch. To me, our baseball team feels like being in a bad relationship with a good person. Sure, they do good things most of the year. They take out the trash, handle their responsibility. However, when you really need them, when you really, really need them, they continually let you down and can't deliver what you ultimately need from them. Knowing what you know about our team, what do you feel it would take for FSU baseball to finally change and win a College World Series? I mean, it's you're one of the new guy. Like, let him. Let's be total miserable in maybe 3 years from now. Like, let's have Meat not make it to a super for 3 straight years, and then we can really start being miserable and see Link Jarrett maybe win it.
But I don't even know if that matters, because even if he makes the super, even if he makes Omaha, if he's not winning out in Omaha, nobody's really going to care.
I know
the people like this, and this. I'm not.
I know he's the son of Mike Martin, man, but it's not a totally new era, but man, it's a new dude trying new things.
I got it. Yeah,
not totally,
But until he wins the whole thing out there, people are going to be disappointed no matter what he does. Right. That's the job he walked into.
Right.
And that's the fan. And I'm not taking a shot at John, but that's the fan that he's dealing with. Is somebody they've been to Omaha 19 times. This fan base, or 20, or whatever it is. Yeah. They're okay. They don't really care about getting out there anymore. They want to win the darn thing once. So until that happens, but again, I don't. They've got to get better hitting.
Yes.
But if you're talking about like a program shift, I don't. You put together good baseball teams that win. It's hard to win the College World Series. Florida State's proven that. It's really hard to win it. You hope you get hot at the right time and get some timely hits. I would love for them, the sport, to do something about that stadium so it's not so hard to hit home runs. It kills the sport. Like, I was watching the softball, and I'm thinking to myself, we can't move these fences back 15 feet, 25 feet. But then I'm like, no, home runs are awesome, and they're a part of the game, except in Omaha.
Yeah.
Like, the home runs are a big deal. Florida State won a national championship 3 years ago in softball because Elizabeth Mason hit a 2-strike, 2-out home run in an elimination game. If that had happened in Omaha, it would have been caught 25 feet in front of the fence. Yeah. And it's like, oh, they blew it again. They won one game. Like, they've got to do something with the sport. But to this question, man, you just keep recruiting the best kids. You keep trying to recruit the best kids, pitchers, hitters. You got to get some guys that can make contact. That would stick out in this day and age of baseball. But I don't know that there's was O'Sullivan, did he become a better coach the one year he won it? Or did everything just string together one time out there for him? I mean, he's been out there 8 times. He's been the head coach at Florida for, 20 years? 18
Pulled his name
years?
out of the LSU job, by the way.
Oh, did he really? So how long has he been at Florida? Like 17, 18 years?
Sounds about right. I'm trying to do some facts.
They've been awesome. They've been probably the most talented program in the country for 17 years or 15 years, however long he's been there.
Since 2008, so 13.
Yeah, so 13 years. So they've been the most talented team in the country for 13 years. They've won it once. Now, that's more than Florida State, granted, but it's hard to win out there. You just hope, man, you've got to put together an offense that can put the ball in play, that can hit, they can move runners along. You've got to be better you've got to be better defensively. If I was going to say one thing, obviously Mike Martin Jr. is going to recruit hitters, and he's going to try to teach hitting, and he wants the best hitters in the country, and Florida State's always going to have good pitching. You've got to get better defensively. You've just got to. This has been going on for too long now. It's almost part of the program's DNA. My number one goal, if I was the AD, and I was having a heart-to-heart with Mike Martin Jr., because he'd love that, I bet, me telling him what to do with his baseball team. I'm tired of the errors. You've got to fix the defense. Do whatever it takes to shore up the defense, because it's outrageous what it's been like, and it's cost them multiple times. It didn't really cost them in Omaha 2 years ago, but the trip before that, it definitely cost them. They blew a game in LSU against LSU in 17 because of that. And then that's why they're not playing right now, is because of their defense. So that's what I would say. Their defense has been pretty bad. It's been absurdly bad a few years, and mostly bad the other years, or at least mediocre. That's become a good defensive team. Make that your calling card. There you go.
Yeah, because there's not a gain at the plate either. It's not like these guys committing the errors or going up there
Right.
and, knocking runs in.
Your middle infield both batted under 200 for the season. Yeah. Jackson Green and Nander both batted under 200 for the entire season, and weren't exactly stellar in the field.
It's not apples to apples. It's apples to oranges. But that pitching staff meets first. The COVID shortened season. That would have been a lot deeper. I mean, they still had Trohan. That would have helped out a lot.
Yeah.
To have like another frontline guy. I guess they wouldn't have had Bryce Hubbard though, and I do like Bryce Hubbard. I mean, they've always had they've always had good frontline pitching. I think they're gonna get better frontline pitching with Meat now being able to have his fingers on every single thing going on with the program. I don't think he's snake bitten. His dad was snake bitten. I don't think just because his dad was snake bitten he is. But let's revisit this in 4 or 5 years. Let's see if we've made it to Omaha. Let's see the ways that we've lost in Omaha or the ways we've failed to make it to Omaha, and then I'll reassess. But otherwise, I just think I really think this, man, and save this, write this down, everybody, and bring it back on Cold Takes Exposed. Man, I think Meat has to be one of the top 25 sharpest managers in baseball. Maybe not manager, but just he knows so much about baseball. He's lived and breathed this his whole life. He's grown up in a dugout. I know a lot of people have, but maybe just fooled me. Maybe it's the way he talks. I don't know. Maybe he's convincing. I believe he has a vision. He knows the matchups they want to play, what they want to look like, how they want to execute things. Now they're not executing it the way obviously he's intended to. And any coach can probably put their hands up and be like, well, I didn't coach them to throw an interception. But, man, right. I have a weird sort of unwavering faith in him right now until he really starts doing some bizarre boneheaded stuff, and then at that point I'll second-guess him and bury him. But right now I'm not. I just think that he knows what it's going to take to get this team over the top, man. I do think so, and give him another year or two to start recruiting guys, and it's fully him and his guys starting their camps and figuring out the way they want to approach players, and we'll revisit this.
Yeah, and look, the main thing is getting to the postseason. They did not have a good season this year. It was not, certainly by Florida State standards, it was a below average season. But if you get to the postseason, give yourself a chance. I will say this. I know they made it to Omaha 2 years ago. They were also a 3 seed that year too. They barely got into the tournament that year. They were a 3 seed in 2021 as well. Florida State does need to get back to being 1 seeds. That's where Florida State belongs, and that's his goal for now. Get the regular season back in order where you're winning 40, 45 games, and you're a top 10 or top 8 team, and you can host super regionals. Get to that spot, and then the postseason is the postseason, man. It's goofy. Florida got beat 19-1. Miami didn't even make it out of that regional. It's just, but keep giving yourselves chances, and hopefully once you get to Omaha again, some gods will smile on you or something, man. It would also help, I'll say this, it doesn't help when you juxtapose the way Florida State baseball seems to look in the postseason, what that dugout looks like sometimes, the way they play sometimes, compared to what the softball team routinely does. They seem to have fun. They don't seem to. They do have fun. They're carefree. They step up in the moments. They make plays. They believe. And it doesn't seem like that always happens with the baseball team. But you know what? Florida State softball wasn't always like this. It all flipped, like I said, 3 years ago when Elizabeth Mason hit a 2-strike, 2-out home run against the best pitcher in the country to avoid elimination. And then all of a sudden they started to believe. And next thing you know, this is just what they do. They fight off elimination and they make it to the finals in Omaha or in Oklahoma City. It can flip. The Red Sox went 70 years without winning anything. It can flip, but something has to. Hopefully, it happens in our lifetimes that it gets flipped.
Oh, one thing I would add: I want at least 3 guys in the lineup that are over 210 pounds.
I'm all about that life. Did you say that, or did Random John say that?
No, I'm saying that. That's my addendum to the contract that I've signed here with you.
Get
Mike
some
Martin.
big boys.
Come on,
Get
man.
some big boys.
Come on. All right, last one. Not football related, not sports related. It's Primetime 92. Wake up! Always appreciate your guys' answers on the off-topic questions. Love last week's responses about Corey making up an interview to visit his now ex-wife and Aslan writing a love song. More of a power ballad, but nonetheless. This week's question: what is the most uncomfortable situation you have ever been in? This could be dangerous situation, embarrassing situation, or something awkward that happened at work. He, Primetime 92, offers us this, Corey. For me, it was during a second-round interview for a company when I was in grad school. Halfway through the interview, I realized I was drinking out of the water bottle of the person interviewing me the entire time. But I just kept going with it because I was super nervous. We both knew it, but neither of us said anything. It was just super awkward. I mean, living a good life.
If that ends up being the most awkward moment of your life,
most uncomfortable.
You're going to have a great life.
Yeah. Man, dangerous. Yeah, uncomfortable and dangerous. Man, when I went to the Bahamas spring break of 2003 with some buddies, I got into a pretty hairy situation with some locals. Like, I was in their car. I was going to pick up something that you shouldn't have been picking up, and I thought I was maybe going to my inevitable demise at one point. I had a walkie-talkie on me. I started signaling SOS to my friends and thought I was going to die in Freeport, Bahamas, but I didn't. I lived. That was
Man,
pretty
that's scary.
uncomfortable.
It's just thinking of all the decisions. Like, you think with Brady, like when he gets old enough to walk and eat and talk, and then he's 12 now and he can communicate and he has a phone. You're like, okay, we've gotten through the part where I don't have to worry about him choking himself to death on a seatbelt or eating Clorox. But it never stops. 7 years from now, he could hop into a car with people he doesn't know in the Bahamas to go buy some stuff he's not supposed to buy. It's never over. Your worries are never over, ever as a parent.
Sorry, man.
Imagine if your parents knew you were doing that. And they, anyway, it's crazy.
Mom, all the sacrifice you made is what I did.
I'm trying to think. Nothing's really coming to mind. I once asked. I did not ask a lady. I did not ask a woman when the baby's due. That's never something you ask. But I do remember. I was covering the McDonald's All-American game, and they're having the banquet the night before the game.
Was it in Chicago? Where was it?
It was in Louisville.
Okay.
And I was covering like Maya Moore. The paper I worked at the time, she was one of the stars. Maya Moore and the great Ghani Lawal from Georgia Tech. They dated actually in high school, those two. Anyway, so there's a banquet, and it said family members. I thought it was we weren't allowed, press wasn't allowed to go, corporate sponsors weren't allowed to go. It said family banquet for McDonald's All-Americans in this ballroom. So this woman who, I don't know, to me she looked like mid-30s, late 30s maybe, comes out to the bar, and me and my buddies, or the guy I'm there with, he's not a buddy, I didn't really like him at all, but the photographer that went with me, we're sitting there having a drink at the bar, and she comes up and orders. I saw her walk out and come out and order a drink, and she said, "Oh yeah, I've just been in there in the banquet." I'm like, "How's it going? Is it fun?" She said, "Oh yeah, it's great." And I said, "Do you have a son on the team?" And you would have thought I asked her if she weighs 295 pounds. Like, yeah, like she's like, "I can't believe you just asked me that." And I'm like, "What?" And she goes, "I can't believe you just asked me that." And she goes, "No, I work with McDonald's." And I'm like, "Oh, well, I was only told family members were allowed in there. And I know you're not anybody's sister." So my next logical, I guess you could have been an aunt, but I was like, people have kids at early ages. And then that was pretty, and then she just like shook her head. We were having a good conversation right up until then. Not like flirtatious, but I wasn't flirting with her, but we were being nice and talkative. And then I asked her that, and it unraveled, and she went and sat a ways away from us. That's a foot in the mouth situation. But again, I think I'm going to say she was probably 30 or 31. Okay. So I get it. Like, there was a kid a few years ago when I was at one of Brady's field days that thought I was his granddad.
Whoa.
He's like, why's your pop here? And Brady's like, "That's my dad." So he's like, "Oh," and they're 10 years old, so they don't care. They're not embarrassed. He's like, "Oh, okay," and he just ran off and did something else. So I've had 1,000 moments like that. I think I've told this story before, but at UGA, I was getting off one of the buses and I tripped coming down and actually tackled a girl that was waiting to get on the bus, like tackled her to the ground. That was awesome. That was fun. Middle of the day, middle of campus. Everybody got to see that. That was pretty cool. There's been a few of those throughout the years.
I feel like I've done a good job of blocking out most of the embarrassing stuff. Embarrassing, I remember, so my best friend, we used to make couch rock. We would just make songs, from the comfort of our sofa when we were like in middle school. And his mom had a camcorder, and he was like a single family. It was a single mom, so she was never home. So we'd always hang out at his house. And one day we made like a video of us performing one of our songs. And like I had long hair in 7th grade, and it was just a really awkward song. Like I'm like yelling in the background, trying to get like really like we're writing songs about golfing. It's ridiculous. Anyhow, senior year of high school, we're at his house with everybody over there, including like girls, and he decides to pull out he's like, Aslan, check out what I found out when I was packing up for college. And I'm like, what? And he puts it on like the big screen, and it's just me, all like 99 pounds of me when I was in 7th grade, sitting Indian style, slapping the bass, and I can't even play the bass.
Crisscross applesauce.
Oh, yeah, sorry, you're right. Crisscross applesauce. And I'm just like slapping the bass and just screaming out and trying to like look like a metalhead.
Oh no!
And
yeah,
they're
that's
all
rough,
watching
man.
it. And he's like, "Dude, it's hilarious." I'm like, "No, it's not." Well, maybe it is if it's not you.
But it's like, well, yes. So it was just you. Like, yeah, I can see where you might take offense to that. But you were in the 7th grade, so it wasn't like you had done it the week before.
And then
the one where I thought I did have a moment where I thought I was going to die.
Okay,
to end the show on a real upbeat note. Driving down 75 to see Shanna.
This is a big deal, everybody. By the way, so Corey doesn't like flying, but Corey also has another thing he's not very keen on when it comes to traveling. Continue, Corey.
So driving down 75, right near Gainesville, a little outside Gainesville. I'm in the left lane. I'm getting over to the middle lane, probably going, not probably, I know where I was going. I was going 79 miles an hour. I go to the middle lane because somebody's coming up behind me, and I spin out. So I lose control of the car, and I know you're supposed to turn into the skid, the slide. It was bald tires, rain, gross, but I was going 79 miles an hour. I'm in the middle lane on 75 at like 7:30 p.m. at night, not 7:30 p.m. in the morning. And that's pretty redundant, Clark. Yeah. And I spin out from the middle lane, go off the road, and I'm spinning. And I'm saying out loud, now I know how I'll react when I'm about to die. I just say, oh, and the S word really loudly and like, really long. And I'm spinning, and finally I hit the woods and hit a tree. Oh. And the tree hits the back of my rodeo and splits it in half.
You drove an Isuzu rodeo?
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
I always thought, and when I totaled it, one of my buddies told me I should get another one to replace it, just so I could tell people it wasn't my first rodeo. Anyway, so, but that's as close as I've come to spinning out, going 75 miles an hour on 75 into the tree, because 100 yards either way, it wasn't the woods, it wasn't like stable ground. It fell off from the highway. It was like a 30 or 40 foot drop.
Yeah.
So I would have spun off the road and then tumbled down. And there's very little chance I would have survived. If I would have done one more half revolution or one less quarter revolution, and the tree had hit my side of the car, there's no way. Well, there's probably a wake up Warchant, but I'm not a part of it. I wouldn't be here. Brady wouldn't be here. So yeah, that's even thinking about that now, how that was 17 years ago.
How spooked, how long were you spooked driving for? After that?
I wasn't really. I had a breakdown that night, like a real breakdown, like when it really, because the adrenaline's going, and then we finally got back to Shanna's house. I'm laying in bed, she's asleep, and I had a breakdown because it was so. You start thinking about how close it was, how close it was. Like it's one less half second, one less half rotation, and that tree splits my car in half on the driver's side. And I don't survive. Or even if it hits it if I hit it front ways, maybe it happens like that. I don't know. I got really lucky that, number one, what part of the highway I was at, it wasn't off a cliff if I sped off. Or no car was in the right lane.
Yeah.
And I could have spun into that. Like, there were so many things that had to happen right. So every now and again, especially when I'm driving south on 75, I'll think back to that and how lucky the world is that I survived that. Not just myself or Brady, but how lucky all you are. You kidding me? This is as good as it gets, folks.
I know you wanted to go out on that, but I did want to add awkward thing that happened at work. Dan Mullen press conference after the 2012 Egg Bowl remains the most bizarre press conference I've been a part of. He had once said, I think after they won in 2009, they're never going to lose this game again. Like there was literal video of him in the locker room 2009 with the Egg Bowl trophy saying, hey, we're never going to lose this trophy to that team ever again. And in 2012, they played that on the Jumbotron at Vaught Hemingway Stadium in Oxford, Mississippi, and then had the Pac-Man music, like you like
right.
the womp womp on it. And like we were asking him about, like, you said you're never going to lose this game. You've lost it now. What does it feel like? And he was just in this weird state of denial. And someone's like, do you regret saying it? He's like, absolutely not. And they're like, do you agree with it? Like, I mean, you just say you're never going to lose. You just did. Like, do you realize that? And he's like, basically, like, acted like it didn't even happen. It was just,
right.
He is so weird when they lose.
He's a weird dude, man.
He's a good football coach, man. He can scheme stuff up, but his post-game are just bizarre. And then Willie's post-Boise on Monday water prepared statement was just like,
Well, yeah, there were a few Bowden press conferences that weren't great either back in the day, or Jimbo for that matter. His last year, kind of they'd go off the rails at times. But yeah, I'm more concerned with almost dying on 75.
Okay, you win. You win. That's a wrap for us and for the week. We'll be back Monday program. I think we're always going to put out a Monday program, at least effort to put out a Monday program. I'm sure there's recruiting going on. There's official visitors on campus, so we'll have a wrap-up of that probably with Michael Langston on the program for you folks on Monday. Go to the website. I don't know. Go follow Ira on Twitter. He went out to OKC and grinded for all of us.
He deserves it. He deserves it, yeah.
Absolutely. And we didn't find a way to get him on the show. So,
well, what can you do?
He's Corey, though. I'm Aslan. Thanks so much for listening to Wake Up Warchant, fueled by DeLuna Coffee. Come explore our world of coffee. DeLuna Coffee features over 24 different blends. DeLuna's unique roasts can be delivered ground finely for drip coffee makers, coarse for the craft crowd, untouched as a whole bean, or even in convenient K-Cups. Founded in 2014 by the Lamenting family, Ed and Brett are FSU alums and boosters who are extending a special offer to all listeners. Use the promo code WARCHANT15 for a 15% discount. Visit DeLunaCoffee.com and check out their Facebook and Instagram.